Francisco, Associate Professor of Engineering here at Oakland University in the School of Engineering and Computer Science. I'm also the Director of Engineering and Energy Education for the Clean Energy Research Center of the OU Inc. And tonight we're going to be showing a thing to our students. And what we have going on is we started a program that tries to get a little bit of student involvement after hours, but also as an educational effort. And we are showing sci-fi based movies and getting our students to basically critique these movies based on science, logic, and reason, learning first principles. So for tonight's movie, it's going to be The Thing. Alright, I want to welcome everybody to the first showing of our Nerds Night Out movie. The way this is going to work, we're just going to enjoy movies, so grab popcorn, grab soda. When the movie's over, I'm going to invite you, if you would, to do a critique of anything that's flawed on a scientific basis. So I'm expecting good things out of this group. So here's our students when they first started seeing the scary scenes in the movie. Let's ask our students what they thought about the movie after they watched it.
I laughed and cried. It was much better than Cats.
I don't have any specific scenes, but I think we see this in a lot of movies. Just all the different explosions and the gunfire. I guess outside of the film that would be pretty deafening. In close proximity, and they don't really show that as accurately as I think they could. But it's a movie, so. But all in all, I thought it was.
The scene that I've noticed was the scene with the dogs biting through the fences.
Yes.
Which is not, it's not physically possible.
You don't think that dogs can bite through the fence? That's just.
And whenever you open a door to the outside, it's like a freezer. All this stuff comes, the fog comes into the room, and it's pronounced. And here, you barely saw that. So it was not cold.
It wasn't as cold as they said it was.
This could not be real type of video in the video, but at the very start, since I wasn't here the first episode, but I have seen before, and I think I remember, at one of the scenes, it was kind of a long intro. During one of the scenes, you could see the camera crew, or such like that.
You can see the shadow of the camera?
And all the people.
Are
you serious? A shadow?
Yeah, you could see it.
At the beginning of the movie, what we see is a helicopter kind of chasing a dog around, and there's no information about what exactly they're doing, other than they're locating this dog and they're shooting it. Now, what make this little implausible is that we find out later in the movie that it's about an hour trip from the Norwegian camp to U.S. base 31, and it is improbable that they've been chasing this dog for what it takes a helicopter 1 hour to go through, which means the dog, which runs much slower, would have been running for about a day straight. In the prequel, they actually took off right from the village, right when the dog went, the helicopter went. So they've been chasing this thing for a very long time. The other thing is, they've been chasing this dog for hours, probably a day at least, and they can't hit it. How many bullets do they have, and how bad a shot is this guy?
Harry, you're alive, and you're a horrible shot.
I mean, they are taking shot after shot after shot.
You suck!
I mean, here's this guy. He's got a pretty high-powered rifle there with a big scope. Can't shoot a dog from a helicopter. I mean, that is just... How many shots did he take throughout this whole episode? And then the helicopter keeps overshooting the dog when it can just hover above the dog. I mean, doesn't the helicopter pilot know how to slow down? So this guy's a bad shot, should be fired.
What would you say you do here?
The ice block where they found a thing is very different from where they actually located the ice block by the spaceship, in that this block is a whole lot bigger than the hole they dug up. But other than that, you can see that there's smooth surfaces on all sides, which means they carved this thing out with machines. This thing did not bust out like they had in the prequel. So the prequel is wrong, inconsistent with the original John Carpenter movie. When they find the remains of the thing in the Norwegian village, partially burned up, they end up getting some shovels and getting it into the helicopter. Now in the prequel, they indicated this was actually 2 people. If it was indeed 2 people, then this thing would have weighed at least 300 pounds. How do 2 guys dig this thing up and put it in the chopper when it weighs 300 pounds? That would be quite a task, especially since Doc here is a little advanced in years compared to MacReady. When they unload this thing, it takes about 6 people to unload it. How does it take 6 people to unload it when it only took 2 people loaded in the chopper? Again, how did MacReady and Doc actually load this thing in? When the thing started attacking the dogs, they showed dogs several times biting through the fence and actually biting their way out. And it seems implausible, at least to some of the attendees, that the dogs would actually be able to do that. When Childs actually goes in and burns this thing up, you see this big bloody mess. There's a whole bunch of stuff there, different parts of different animals, and it's being attacked. And you see when Childs flamethrowers this thing, he's flamethrowing the wall. There's nothing there. There's nothing there at all. He's just flamethrowing the wall. They find a spaceship buried way under the ice, and they kind of do an estimate of how long it's been there.
How long you figure this has been in the ice? Well, the backscatter effect's been bringing things up from way down around here for a long time. I'd say the ice it's buried in is 100,000 years old, at least.
So 100,000 years old at least. However, when they find where they dug up the block of ice, where they actually found the alien, it's up on top. Why would it be up on top and not at the same level as the ship if it happened 100,000 years ago and this thing came out 100,000 years ago? Also notice that this area that they dug out is much smaller than the ice block that they found in the Norwegian village. A violation of the conservation of mass in the assimilation simulation, and when the alien cell and the dog cell combine together, so you have 2 cells with their own mass combining into one cell that turns into the original dog cell. So what happened to all the mass and material from the alien cell? And then later on, this cell is going to combine with a second dog cell, and again it becomes just one cell. So if this process played its way out, all you'd end up with is one cell. Where did the mass of all the other cells go? So here's a simulation with a second dog cell, and again, you see that it just becomes one cell again. So now this is a combination of 3 cells that has all the mass and property of only one dog cell. That violates the conservation of mass in totality. Blair runs a simulation on the cellular mechanisms that show this to be small, and he doesn't seem to have any kind of a statistical model for how this thing's actually transmitted. So how can he come up with this scenario of the probability of one or more team members being affected, or how fast the world population would be taken over by this thing? Because we really don't know. Neither the original movie nor prequel tells us how fast or what's the mechanism for how this thing is transmitted, other than direct contact, as in being attacked. When the thing transforms, several nursing students indicated that the rate of cellular change for this thing transformed to different creatures is way faster than anything possible. Cancer is one of the fastest mechanisms that's out there right now, and this is far, far faster than even cancer spreads. So the cellular mechanisms are too fast, although this thing is an alien, so there is a little bit of a loophole to that. There's one scene where Palmer started to change, and for some reason he turned into the anti-gravity thing. But when that happened, there was a ceiling tile that actually went loose, and it was apparent that the film was being filmed upside down. I'll run the sequence again, but notice this piece of ceiling tile right here that came from where his leg impacted what presumably was the ceiling tile. This is actually the floor. So focus on this piece right here. Again, when I play this, here's the change, and watch him fly up to the ceiling. Watch the piece of ceiling right there. Piece of ceiling tile. So this was actually filmed upside down. There were a lot of scenes in The Thing where dynamite was used within buildings and outside of buildings in very close proximity to the people, and it would have probably caused damage to their ears. I mean, that is very, very close. And they ran a lot of these dynamite explosions indoors as well when they were also indoors, and that would have increased the effect much more. And more explosions here. This is dynamite. I mean, they're just blowing up room by room. They're indoors. There's no place for all this pressure energy to get out. It blows out the walls, but it would have done significant damage to their ears if they were in this close proximity to actual dynamite. There was a scene where they took blood from all the Antarctic team members to test them for whether they are the Thing or not. But remember, this thing, they're afraid spreads like a fire. So you can see they made a pretty deep cut. This character is Knowles here. They took a big sample of his blood, put it in a petri dish, but then they used the same scalpel on themselves. And not only did they not dip the scalpel in anything, acid or anything, this guy just wipes on his pants. Watch this. He takes that scalpel. Yeah, just wipes it on his pants. Again, they're afraid this thing spreads like a virus, and he's cutting his own finger now with it. He would have been infected immediately, and everybody else would too. It was indicated in the movie that it's approaching 100 below in the camp at night. But if that was the case, then the fog coming out of their breath would have been far more pronounced than it was. There was a lot of scenes where their breath did have the foggy appearance like happens in cold weather as humidity just condenses right out of the air. But at 100 below, it would have been far more pronounced than it is, especially in this scene right here. We're in the shack. There's no heating, and it's supposedly approaching 100 below, and you don't even see their breath here. Thank you very much for watching this review of The Thing. I hope you all learned something other than engineers really are engineers.